Thank you to everyone who is joining today to learn more about Hive and how our project management and collaboration platform can help you and your team move faster. So today we are going to walk through a common workflow in Hive from start to finish, and we're going to focus on a few main objectives. So keep these in mind as we go through the webinar. The first is confirming functionality. Can Hive address your core workflow requirements? The second is confirming usability. So adoption from your team, and we see this really as being critical to a successful implementation. And so we're going to highlight Hive's ease of use throughout this webinar, but keep those in mind: functionality and usability. So for a quick agenda for today's session, we are going to kick off and execute a project from a template and show you on how to utilize a template for projects. We're going to showcase Hive's 6 flexible ways of working. We'll discuss ways to improve your workflow through task management, task assignment, and then we'll touch on reporting views that allow for increased internal transparency. And we'll wrap up with efficient collaboration through Hive Mail and Hive Notes. So we're going to go ahead and dive in here. Throughout this webinar, feel free to ask questions in the Q&A section, and we will tackle those at the end of the demonstration of the platform here. So go ahead and throw those within the Q&A section, and we'll go ahead and take those at the end here. So I'm going to go ahead and hop into Hive here. And we're going to start off with our project navigator. And you can think of this as your Active Directory within Hive. This is where all projects live, where they're stored. And there are 2 main concepts as you build in Hive. There are projects, and then there are action cards. Now you can think of this as, right now we're looking at our projects, and projects are just made up of action cards. Those action cards are where we house the actual tasks making up that project. Now, both can have multiple levels of detail. Both can have parent and child hierarchies. For example, I can come here and expand this out for that hierarchy. And so keep that in mind as you organize and summarize your work. And we have a saying here that sharing is seeing. So if you are not invited to a project, it will not appear for you within this project navigator. So this helps from both a permissions perspective as well as scalability as you and your team and usage grow. Just keep that in mind. If you're not shared to a particular project, it will not show up within this view. So kicking off our project here, again, I mentioned we have some templates. And I'll go ahead and click on this template section here. And this template section allows you to create a template from a project and then apply that template. And I can actually come up here and apply a particular template so that I can start to create those projects based off of our template without having to manually go in and create those projects. So if I click apply here, that's going to apply my template. And I'll go ahead and hop into a template that I've applied here. We'll go ahead and take a look at our marketing sprint. And now we are within this project. So we've applied a template. This template has created our project here. And we'll notice that this project now has our action cards that make up our project. So the first thing that we'll talk through on the project level is the 6 different layouts that you and your team have access to within Hive here. Right now, we are within what we call a status view. This is just viewing the content and the action cards based on status. The statuses here are fully customizable, so you can add a status if you need to. And this is more of that Kanban style layout. So you can actually drag and drop in between each of these statuses. So if I have a content idea here and I decide that I'm going to go ahead and move that on deck, I can just drag that over, drop it in. Very simple to make changes. The second layout here is team view. Now this allows you to see exactly what your team is working on. Great for team leads. Great to see who all is assigned to particular actions within the project. Very similar to the status view, we can reassign work just by dragging and dropping. So if I notice that Alice is working on quite a bit, I can just drag and drop this over to Khan here, and that reassigns our work, keeping things very simple on the team lead or management perspective. The third view we have here is label view. And this is just a very similar style, again, Kanban style, for you to actually organize based on labels. Again, you can create custom labels here. You can add in whatever labels you're looking to track by. And then you can also reassign labels, very similar to what we just talked through. So keep this in mind. This helps you to organize your information together. And I'll point out that it's very helpful to use labels for filtering and reporting purposes. So we want to try and keep things consistent, keep those labels in place a little bit down the road for our filtering and reporting. Our next layout here is calendar view. We can view content on a calendar. This is helpful for anybody who is taking a look more out of that date-driven view. I'll point out this is all the exact same information. This is just a different way of looking at it. So each of these views here, same information. We're just looking at it through a different lens. So this is our calendar view. These can also sync out. If you do need to sync externally with your calendar, you have the option to do so from here. We'll move on to the Gantt view. And this is very helpful for creating those timelines. We want to see the big picture of a project. We can clearly see phases, tasks, subtasks, all within one view here. And this is where you can also set up auto-adjusting dependencies. So if we do have a project, more of that waterfall methodology approach to it, and we do need to, for example, extend out this particular task here, we'll notice that if I extend this out, it pushes the rest of the tasks out as well. So very helpful if you are needing to track and set dates, but also shift based on that timeline. Gantt view is going to be where you're living for that functionality. And then last, but certainly not least here, is table view. And this is great for people who maybe are more comfortable working out of an Excel file, for example, or just that table view and are more comfortable with that. You can drag and drop these columns here to organize exactly how you need to see this information. You can add additional columns. You can filter columns from within this section here. So this is a great view for seeing a quick list of the actions we have and then creating and filtering based on that list. So I'm going to hop back here to status view. Again, keep in mind, all the same information here. We're just deciding how we want to view it. So as your team gets comfortable with Hive, they can use whatever view they would like to. These are really just here to allow for some flexibility as we work on these projects. So now we've taken a look at these 6 different views. Let's zoom in on a action card and take a look at the action card. Again, these action cards make up our projects. This is where we're actually housing the details for our particular task here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up an action card here, and we'll take a look. We have a bunch of different actions that are making this up. I'm going to open up this particular action here. And you can think of this is the task required to completing the project. I'll run through a few areas of this here. We can add an assignee at the top. You can add multiple assignees. This allows you to track who is working on this task. We can add a date or a date range for when this task is expected to be completed or needs to be completed by. And then you also are able to add sub-actions or subtasks here. And so oftentimes there are tasks that have multiple sub-actions that need to be worked on. On an action card, you have the ability to create these sub-actions here. So these are the actions making up this particular content. And on each sub-action, I can actually assign this to a particular user, and I can set a date for this as well. So my overall action has a user and a date, and then my sub-actions, each individual one, I can assign out a deadline as well as who will be working on that sub-action there. Benefit of this here is if I assign one of these sub-actions out, whoever that is, they will receive real-time notifications knowing that they've been assigned work. They now know that they need to work on that particular set of subtasks or subtasks there, and then when they need to get it done by. The additional capabilities of the action card here that we'll run through, if you scroll down, we can link in dependencies, as we noted. There's some time tracking abilities. And then one of the ones I'll point out here is the approvals and proofs section. So you can also manage any review process, any proofing that needs to happen on content, run through a whole process for reviewing that. We can add that directly within this action card here. And then we can also comment on the action card. So oftentimes teams are handling commenting or collaboration via maybe it's chat or email functions, but you can actually comment directly within the card to make sure that everything is staying consistent on the card, as well as people know exactly where to go to for that particular comment there. So that is our action card. That's the task that makes up what we're wanting to work on. Let's move into what if we're looking to see more of a high-level summary of multiple projects within one view. So I'm going to exit out of this action card here. I have this project, but I want to see on a larger scale a little bit of information about all of the projects that I have. So on the left-hand side here, I'm going to go to my projects, and I'm going to click on Summary Views. Now, this summary view allows you to create a custom view to pull in all of your projects at once, or you can set what projects you want to view this information by. And this is great because you don't have to flip back and forth between each project. Everything can live within one screen here. So I'm going to open up Status View. And we'll notice that I have a lot of different projects within this particular view here. I'll go ahead and edit this, and we'll talk through what we're doing on this summary view. We'll notice that I have the ability to still view this information within the 6 layouts that we looked at previously. So exact same functionality, I can view that information the exact same way. But I can also start to do a few things here. So I can filter based on, here's where we decide what projects we want to include on this. We can filter on a custom field. Maybe it's selected labels, as I mentioned. That's the benefit of having labels. We can start to then filter down to those labels. And we have a few other options for those filtering as well. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this here. And we'll notice that this view here, this is a great visual to take a look at all of the projects I have, where things stand in the status, again, bringing things to within that one view. And I can, same thing here, I can just change the layout. For example, maybe I want to go to the Gantt view. I want to see all of the project information within the Gantt view here. I can do that within this section. So this is great for seeing that 20,000 foot view all the way down to the task level and being able to see that summary from projects. Now you should have a few of these within your Hive account here. I'll go ahead and go back to the summary views. There are a few here. One of them I'll point out is the project milestones. This is a very helpful view. This allows you to keep key milestones within this view. So again, we'll notice I have my different projects. These projects have key milestones. This allows us to track and hit those key milestones without showing every single detail that needs to happen within that project. So those are our summary view that allows us again to see information across multiple projects. Another view that can give you an overview of high-level details across your project is portfolio view. Now this on the left-hand side, if you don't have access to portfolio view, you can click on the apps section and then find it within the apps there. You can pin it to the left-hand side here, but I'll go ahead and select portfolio view. And we'll notice that this is pulling information and really seeking to give us that high-level detail across our projects. This is completely customizable as far as what projects you want to pull in, the project details, the actions and sub-actions. And we'll notice that at a quick glance, I can see key details about my project, such as maybe it's the status, maybe it's the project completion or the start date, the budget, things of that nature. We can see all within the same section here. And the great thing is that we can also pull in action cards, tasks, and due dates here. So we'll notice I have that milestone we looked at for the go live on our client C project. I noticed that that was actually set for March 29th. It's showing as red because that hasn't been completed. So right within this single view here, I can see exactly what hasn't been completed, what's falling behind. I can even click on this particular action here, open that up. Maybe I need to comment on it. Maybe I need to decide what exactly is happening with that. And once I am good to go with that, I can check that. That completes that particular action. And we'll notice that it then moves the action to completed so that we can see exactly what needs to be worked on and what has been completed. So we'll utilize this view again to, at a high level on our projects, see exactly what we need to see from those projects as far as milestones or key details, status, due dates, things of that nature. So we have our projects, we have our action cards, we've set up some summary views and a portfolio view. Now it comes to actually getting the work done, collaborating on that work. So Hive has a lot of functionality, but for the end users on your team, the people doing the work here, the number one question we always ask is where are they going to go first thing every morning to see exactly what they've been assigned to work on. So in Hive, we try and keep this very simple, and it's the My Actions section. So at the top here, I'll go ahead and open up the My Actions, and we have just a to-do here. So this is everything that I've been assigned to, and it shows me exactly what I need to take care of, as well as the dates that I need to have this done by. I can see here I have 2 tasks that are overdue. I can open up the task right within this section here. I can work on it, I can collaborate, I can comment, and work from that exactly from this section here, the My Actions. So we really like to say that this is where 90% of your end users' time will be spent working out of this view here, because everything is brought within this view. I can access my calendar. I can access my chat within the left-hand side here. I can even access my mail, which we'll touch on in a few minutes. And so really we're trying to keep things simple and get things to your end users to be able to allow them to know exactly what they need to work on. Now, the other area I'll point out here is the Assigned by Me section. So if you click on the to do, you'll see that there's an option for assigned by me. Now, this is very helpful for team leads, people who need to check on what they are assigning out, who's working on it, where things stand. So if I need to on any of these, I can open up that action card again, mention people, check on the status, but this allows you to keep tabs on exactly the work that you've been assigning to other people. So again, the My Actions section, we're really trying to make that the place where the work is happening, where we can see exactly our to-do list, what needs to be done, when it needs to be done by, and where we can start to collaborate from there. Now let's take a look at Hive, how Hive approaches more of that ad hoc work and communication throughout the day. And a big part of that, as I mentioned, is Hive Mail. So on the left-hand side here, again, this can be enabled through the apps section, but I'll click on Mail, and this is pulling up my actual inbox. So I don't need to flip back and forth between Hive and my email. I have everything loaded up directly within my inbox, right within Hive here. So what I can do here, I've got an email. We want to check on the status of a project. If I need to take action from this email, I can easily take this email and turn it into an action. So I just click on Create Action here. It's right at the top. And that's going to create an action card for me that I can then set a due date against. Maybe I need to assign that to a particular person. That's going to allow me to create that sub-action from the email and then assign it out to the correct team from there. Great thing is, I'll go ahead and open up this action. Once you've tied in an action in an email, you can actually scroll down and it'll be within this mail section. So this is great because if I get an email that comes in after this section here is going to show me the most recent email. And so I don't have to go back and reference email. I can just come directly within this action card and have that email pulled up. So again, you can see we're trying to bring things together into a single location and then simplify the process as well. This helps everybody stay aligned, reduces overall email volume, and so we can link those directly in from there. Now, the last thing we'll take a look at here as far as ongoing collaboration is Hive Notes. I'll go ahead and open up my notes section here. We'll see I can create a new note. I have a note for a status meeting, actually. And now this status meeting here, we've all been in those team meetings where we sit for 30 minutes, identify next steps, walk out, and then what's next? Maybe we forget about what we're assigned to, we forget what exactly the next steps were. And so Hive Notes, they really allow you to take specifically meeting notes, but really any notes. And they allow us to collaborate within that particular note. You can link it to a calendar event here and then collaborate as a team. But really the main aspect of the notes here is you can actually, from the notes section, you can set up with one click to create actions. So I have a next steps here. I have a few next steps that are coming out of this meeting. What I can do here is I can actually just highlight this particular next step. I can click on this action icon here. And very similar to that mail functionality, this is going to create an action card. I can then assign out a date, a status, somebody who will be working on that. So we want to keep that in mind as we are going through, as we are having meetings, as we are taking on mail, whatever that looks like, we're able to create those actions, assign it to a user. And again, that's just going to show up within their My Actions section, and they can start working on it directly from there. Now, the last thing on the notes section here is these notes can be shared. And so I'll scroll up here. If you click on the share, very similar sharing functionality, we can then share that note, or we can copy a share link. And so if somebody is not necessarily within the meeting or anything like that, we can share that note out with them. Really helps to save time, increase efficiency with that section. So I'm going to hop back into Hive here, and we'll just do a quick recap of everything. So we talked through our project navigator, our template section to be able to spin up really quickly projects and templates. Our projects are made up by different actions. The action cards make up our projects. We have 6 different views to be able to view that content by, and lots of functionality on our action cards. This is where we're assigning out who is working on that particular card, when they need to have it done by. We're handling the ongoing mail communication. A step up from here, we're able to see the summary views. Again, that project section, summary views. These are combining multiple projects together and allowing us to see data across multiple projects. And then even a step further, we have our portfolio view, allowing us to see key details about those projects at a very high level without seeing the exact tasks that need to happen. And then everything is brought together within the My Action section for everybody to have a clear understanding of what they're working on, when it needs to be done by, as well as ongoing communication through the mail section, through the chat, through the calendar, and then through Hive notes to be able to throw that in. So I know we covered a lot there, but hopefully that's helpful just to get, again, a quick understanding of how Hive functions here, how to get started. So again, feel free to throw any questions in the Q&A section. Happy to help out with those. And then I'll also throw up here, again, my email. And if you do have any questions following up from the webinar, feel free to reach out and I can either assist or get you to the correct member of the Hive team to help out.